On this episode of Mom Sipping Sangria.
And the little guy said, "Can't you see her? Can't you see her?"
I'm good. Let's do it.
Hello there. Welcome to Mom Sipping Sangria. I'm Sheila Walsh.
And I'm Anita Reynolds-MacArthur, sipping on a pear and apple fall sangria. Ooh, this one's really tasty.
Yes, it is, isn't it? They're all so tasty. This one comes from a gal by the name of Jessica Randhawa and her blog, The Forked Spoon. It's a white sangria made with all sorts of yummy fall-inspired ingredients, including pear, apple, and cinnamon. I love fall. I just love it. I love the smells and the colors, so I figured this would be kind of nice with our theme of fall and you know, moving into November and all that kind of stuff. Speaking of fall, we are headed into November, Anita. What kind of month does November feel like to you? Is that a weird question? Like, does it it has a feeling to me. Does it have a feeling to you?
It definitely has a feeling. It's, well, for me, it's definitely sweater weather. You know, the wind's swirling, there's a chill in the air, it's getting darker earlier. I hate those gloomy days, but, you know, we all have to have it at some point during the year, and this is it. At least, you know, we get to be nice and warm and stay inside and light fires in the fireplace. Hopefully in the fireplace.
Hopefully in the fireplace. November kind of always feels like a ghost story month to me. You know, like once the beautiful colors go away and before that nice white blanket of snow comes, there's November.
There's November. Dreary.
Yeah. If I were to ever write a horror novel, I think I would set it in November. You know, we could say something. That's why the elections south of the border happen in November, because it's so horrifying. But anyway, what are your thoughts on ghosts and ghost stories and hauntings?
Well, I do have to say that I do believe in the spirit world. We took a family vacation to Alberta. We stopped in Banff. Legend has it that the Banff Springs Hotel is haunted. And so we walked in the front door to check it out, and I literally had to walk right back out again. I just got this chill, and I just didn't feel like, I thought, you know, the kids thought it would be a really fun, exciting thing, and they kept going. But it was really interesting.
Gosh, that's so cool. I remember getting that same kind of vibe on a lake. So it was in Parry Sound. I still don't know exactly where it was, but one of my sisters rented a cottage in Parry Sound, and driving up to it, it was already like thunder and lightning, and it was already like kind of this remote, creepy area. Next day, we decided to go out there on a canoe on the lake, and we were, I don't know, maybe 100 feet from shore, and I literally started panicking, and I'm like, "Get me out of here!" And I don't know what happened, but I felt something. I felt this presence, and then we ended up finding out that there was a cult that had built a fort in the area. Yeah, I totally get that vibe. So that brings us to our special guest on this episode of Mom Sipping Sangria. Turns out, Anita, that Canada does have its share of real-life horror stories like the Banff Hotel and this place in Parry Sound, and we reached out to an expert on ghost stories in Canada.
We sure did. Barbara Smith is a prolific Canadian author based out of Victoria, BC. She is the best-selling author of over 30 books, 20 of which are collections of true ghost stories. Here's our chat with Barbara.
Hello, Barbara Smith, and welcome to Mom Sipping Sangria.
Thank you very much. I've been looking forward to this. I love your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Barbara, it's so nice to chat with you. You are an expert on Canadian ghost stories. What led you to get into writing about them?
Well, I always wanted to write, and ghosts have always appealed to me. You know, when I was a kid, I'd read Nancy Drew books, but I'd always read the ones, The Phantom of the Staircase, but it was so disappointing because she was so rational and the ghost never really was there. And one day, I think my earliest recollection of a true ghost story, I was a little kid and walking in downtown Toronto with my father. And we passed an old bank building. And he said to me, "They say there's a ghost in that building." Well, I was just, that just blew my whole world apart. And I was asking him for all this information, and he didn't know anything. He thought it would just be a cute poke to make it his little girl. And turns out that is now the Hockey Hall of Fame, and it is indeed very, very haunted.
And that's actually in one of your books, the story of the Hockey Hall of Fame. You tell us the rest of the story.
It goes back a very long time. The building used to be the Bank of Montreal building, and it's at Yonge and Front in Toronto, and it's palatial. And there was a teller named Dorothy who used to work there. And she was very, very popular with the staff. She was always cheerful and smiling. And there used to be a bank clerk, a messenger clerk. Shortly after he got into work, this one day, March 11th, 1951, he saw Dorothy, the teller, come in, and she looked very bedraggled and unhappy and miserable. And she went into the women's washroom, and she came back out just for a moment and went back into the washroom, and the next thing he knew, he'd heard a gunshot.
Oh.
In those days, believe it or not, bank employees kept a gun in the bank, and the bank employees were expected, if the bank was robbed, they were expected to shoot at the robbers.
Wow, I hope there was some danger pay in that.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. No wonder there are ATMs, not tellers so much anymore.
Wow.
Anyway, poor Dorothy had taken her life, and no one has really been clear on why, but the fact was certainly there. So the other tellers, the women, started to refuse to use the washroom where she was killed, which is certainly understandable. But then they began to complain about other ghostly activity. Things would go missing. They would hear moans. They would feel a hand on their shoulder or on their leg when there was no one there. The bank did put in a new women's washroom for them, but that didn't help the other ghostly activity. The cleaners at night would hear shrieks and moans, and they were completely sourceless. So by 1980, that bank branch was just too old, and it shut down, and it remained vacant for almost 10 years. And then the Hockey Hall of Fame took the property over. And while they were opening the Hockey Hall of Fame, the staff understandably had to work some pretty long nights, and they would hear people running up and down the stairs that Dorothy went up and down to get the gun and kill herself in the washroom. Each thought it was the other person running up and down stairs, and they were quite content and weren't worried until they were leaving and found out, no, it wasn't the other person. This was completely phantom. So the Hockey Hall of Fame opened and is such a popular place. And one family was going through the building. They had a little boy with them, and children are often more receptive to supernatural activity. And this little boy just stopped dead in his tracks, and he started pointing up high to the mezzanine. And they asked him, what are you, come on, let's go, hurry along. And the little guy said, "Can't you see her? Can't you see her?" And he could see the translucent image of Dorothy up on the mezzanine.
I'm not going to lie, I'm getting a couple of chills.
I still do.
Wow.
I still do.
So you had just mentioned about children being more likely to see apparitions than adults. Why is that?
I think children haven't been socialized quite as thoroughly as we have, and they haven't been told enough times that that's impossible. They can't be seeing apparitions. That's my guess, is that each year we live, we get told more and more frequently what's possible and what's not, and I think the kids just don't have that surrounding them.
That makes sense. The ghost of Tom Thomson. So Tom Thomson, famous painter who is said to have a huge influence on the Group of Seven. What is his anniversary story?
Tom Thomson is mostly seen on the anniversary of his death. And Thompson's death is still surrounded by mystery. I think he was murdered, but it's never been proven. And in the early July 8th, his apparition is often seen in his very distinctive green-gray canoe paddling on Canoe Lake. And anniversary sightings, I think, are kind of interesting. There's one in Montreal as well, in an area called Griffintown. And Griffintown is now up and coming and very urban and chic, but it was initially for factory workers, and it went downhill from there to drugs and prostitution and remained pretty bad for a long time. There was a murder there on June 27th in the 1800s, and her spirit has been seen on the anniversary of that date, to the point that a priest came in and joined the people who were gathered there to see this apparition. And what I think I find most intriguing about that is, in the spirit world, really, are there calendars? How did,
That's a very good
that
point.
work? Yeah. Is it just that we're looking for them then?
So what do you think? Do you think it's just because there's more energy, people involved in thinking about them on that date, or is there a reason for it?
The energy is definitely a huge factor, yeah. And if you're willing to receive that energy, and the more people who get together, of course, the more energetic the area is. I have found over the years that the more I dig into these stories, the more confused I get.
We're not supposed to know, I guess. That's the whole point, right?
I think
so.
Yeah, it's sure fun.
It sure
Now,
is.
we have true tales that are Canadian ghost stories that we've just been talking about, and then there's also campfire stories, and I believe that's a mix of legend and fact. Am I saying that right?
Absolutely correct, yes. But even the factual ones, I've put fictitious people in to build them up like a campfire story.
Yes.
And I just had a blast. The vanishing hitchhiker, the hook, the red sweater that then appeared on the tombstone.
The vanishing hitchhiker, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Tell us about that one.
There are so many variations, but one that I really love is a man is driving alone on a country road at night, and it's foggy. And he rounds a bend, and he sees a woman standing, waving him down. And so, of course, he stops and says, "How can I help you?" And she says, "I need to drive home. I need to get home. My mother will be worried about me." And so he'll say, "Pop into the car, just give me directions, and I'll take you home right away." And as they drive toward where she's pointing, get to the house, he looks into the back seat, and there's no one there.
Woo!
So he goes to the house and says, "I'm sorry to be knocking on your door so late, but I just had a very strange thing happen to me, and I think it's connected to you." And the woman who answered the door would say, "I know, it's the anniversary of her death. My daughter never made it home from the dance." And yeah, in some of them, he's lent her his sports jacket. Then he goes to the cemetery where he picked her up, and there's his sports jacket on the tombstone. There are many variations, but it's a terrific tale.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. Again, chills.
Yes.
So now you just mentioned the cemetery. Graveyards are actually not the places most frequented by ghosts. Is that what your research has found?
Yeah.
And why is that?
Definitely. They are kind of creepy places, knowing that there are all kinds of dead people under your feet, but they're rarely haunted. Theaters are very, very haunted. Fire halls are very haunted. My first Edmonton story was a fire hall. And I think people who work in those environments really give their all to the job, and that energy remains after.
Oh, that makes sense. Such passion with both of those places that
Yes.
it makes sense that it would stick around, that energy.
Yeah.
And so what is the spookiest place you've ever been?
I think it was the Winter Garden Theatre in Toronto.
Oh, yeah. I love that theater.
Yeah. Oh, isn't that glorious?
Beautiful, beautiful.
But when I saw it, it was during the day, but of course, literally and figuratively, it was dark in the theater. And myself and one of the employees, we were the only people there. And I really, really got strange sensations there. I mean, that's the place where when people sat down, other chair bottoms would flick down, and there was no one near them, but as if some invisible essence was sitting down. I mean, theaters, anything that's not serving its purpose, an empty swimming pool, an abandoned car, an empty theater, they're a bit odd. They're a bit off-putting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, do you think, because you write about it, and because you're passionate about it, do you feel that you are encouraged by the other world to share their stories? What do you think?
I don't, and I've actually tried to make myself quite resistant. Because I deal with this all the time, I have a great life. I have just a super life, and I don't want to take any chances on kicking that in the pants.
Right.
There are forces of good out there, and there are also forces of evil. So I do try to protect myself. My most recent book is called Deadly Paranormal, Fatally True Supernatural Stories. And I did that with a medium. She's a psychic. Her name is Deborah Dirksen, and she is the real deal. She's amazing. So I collected the stories and wrote them and then sent them to Deborah. And she responded from a psychic point of view. And she has that gift, and she's really, really comfortable with it.
How cool is that?
I know she's wonderful. And she did such a super job on so many really diverse stories. Jack the Ripper, Phantom Ships, one with a possible vampire, just the Kennedys, on and on and on. She is very, very powerful, and I'm not that way at all.
So you really put that boundary in between what you do and what you want to feel. Exactly. That makes sense.
Yes.
And you're going to give one of those books away to our listeners.
Yes. Great Canadian Ghost Stories. I've gone completely coast to coast, and actually one more coast because I went up north as well, and collected, they're kind of the biggest hits.
Right. The biggest ghost hits.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's very interesting.
For sure. I know what I'm going to want for Christmas this year, Anita. I don't know about you.
No kidding. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for the giveaway for the listeners. That's terrific.
Okay, so Barbara, you have an array of stories, something for everyone. We are so glad you could join us. I know you were saying Nancy Drew was your early influence. For me, it was Scooby-Doo.
Oh, of course.
I
have to start somewhere.
And I mean, like, I don't know about you, Anita, but I'm glued to ghost hunters and all these things. I just think they're fun. So I really appreciate what you're doing, and I love a great ghost story. And thank you for making time for us today. We look forward to your other materials.
It's been great fun. Thank you both so much.
Thanks, Barbara.
Thanks so much.
Ooh, she's good. Well, it's time to raise a glass or take a pass. And this is where we cheer someone or something great, or we toss a sangria over their head. Now, are you raising a glass or taking a pass this time, Anita?
I'm going to raise a glass, and I'm going to raise a glass to my neighbor, Henry. Henry probably will not hear this, but other neighbors in the area might, and I think they would raise a glass to Henry as well. Henry takes care of all of the houses in our area, and I don't mean that he does it out of the goodness of his heart. If he sees, a branch has fallen, he'll pick it up and he'll move it. But every single week when we have garbage day, we all, put our garbage out. And for the houses within the immediate, vicinity of his own home, he will bring those garbage bins and recycling bins and everything back up to their garage. And for the longest time, I had no idea who was doing this. We'd go to collect them, or I'd go and tell the kids, go out, garbage is come and gone. And they'd be like, I don't know, it's up here by the front door again. And I'm like, what? Anyways, found out that it was Henry, and he just likes to do good things for people in the neighborhood. So I'm raising a glass to Henry.
That's awesome. Everybody needs a neighbor like that. I raise a glass to Henry too.
And what about you, Sheila?
I'm going to keep it short and simple. I have been loving this fall and the colors. I managed to pick some flowers in a big flower field. And I don't know, I'm just really embracing this beautiful time of the year. So I'm raising a glass to Mother Nature and all the things that are beautiful. And just, I know, as we mentioned, November is coming and things are going to look a little different, but we can still find some beauty in the dead trees and the plants. I'm sure.
Okay, this may sound...
I'm going to look
this
for
may
it.
sound weird. Okay, so I love trees.
Yes.
I don't think that's weird.
No,
think
I
everybody
love
does.
them too. We talked about this. Yes.
Okay. Have you ever hugged a tree?
Yes.
And I don't mean a tree. You have. Me too. Isn't it an incredible feeling?
Well, I'll tell you, and it's funny you should say this because we've been doing a lot of creek walks and forest walks, and I will just see a tree and I will reach up and just give it a little pat. And I know that's kind of crazy, and my family are looking at me like, whoopee.
Same.
But I don't know. I really connect with them, and you and I are talked about this. They're amazing. They're amazing things.
They really are.
I don't know if we're either losing our minds because we're bird ladies and nature and tree huggers, or we're just finally cluing in that this is stuff we're supposed to do.
And these are things that we didn't know about each other, Sheila. We just keep finding out more and more.
Oh my God. I don't know if that's good or bad, Anita.
I don't know. So in addition to these things and people that we've toasted or tossed, we have a few favorite things on our website, which we raise a glass to each episode. We would love to share those with you. You can find them on Faith Finds page on our website, momssipping.sangria.com.
Yeah, well, we talked to Natalie McLean last episode. She gave us a couple of suggestions for sangria. So I would like to add one of the best white wines for making sangria, according to wine expert Natalie McLean, is Henry of Pelham Riesling. It's hints of peach, apricot, and honey. So if you're going to make a fall sangria, it's a great white. What?
Fruity.
It's a great fruity white wine.
My Faith Find this week is also, a recommendation by wine expert Natalie McLean. I'm going to go with the red, and it's the best, according to Natalie McLean, the best red wine for making sangria. It's called Monasterio de la Viñas Gran Reserva, and it's made in Spain. It's aged for 2 years in oak and a further 3 years in the bottle before it actually goes on store shelves. So we'll be posting this to our Faith Finds page because I know those are kind of like long titles to remember, but if you're looking for a best red or a best white for your sangria, we have them for you.
Yeah, and they're a good price point too, which is also a good thing. So cheers to all those people, places, and things. We raise a glass to you as well. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, we've come to the part of the show which we call the Sangria Chronicles, featuring good news stories only because who wants to sip and cry? Not I.
Or me.
Remember we did that last week, and I was going to jump in and say that was sounded like a Dr. Seuss thing. So that's why I did it again. Anywho, there's enough of the, bad news going on in the world already. So we want to put on rosé colored glasses. That was Anita's term, and focus on the good news only. And Anita, you've got a good news story for us.
The title of this story is A Tattoo, a Peculiar Chair in Baltimore, and the Zany Power of the Internet.
Do tell.
So this is the story about a fish chair. We're going to put this up on our website. It's designed to look like it's got fish on it, and it's very whimsical. And this chair was found in a secondhand store in Baltimore, and the image went viral when thousands of people wanted to make sure that it was united with a woman from New York who had a tattoo of that exact chair. So it's a feel-good story because there's a Facebook group that's called Weird Secondhand Finds That Just Need to Be Shared. It's literally called that. And so someone saw this chair in a secondhand store, took a picture of it, this whimsical chair, put it up on this Facebook group, and a woman, she had a tattoo of this exact chair that she had put on her leg. She had moved away from home a few years before, and her mom was really into this particular designer's work. And so she had this tattoo put on as a reminder of her mom and a reminder of home. So when she posted this to the Facebook group absolutely went wild. They wanted her to start a GoFundMe page. They wanted to raise money to be able to purchase this chair and to, be able to get it to her. It had to go from Baltimore all the way over to New York. And so they actually did raise enough money off of this GoFundMe page. And then there were over a dozen, I think there were about a dozen people who decided to make sure that it got from point A to point B so that it could get into this woman's hands. So they mapped out the whole thing, and they had all these drivers, and they would have all these stopping points, and it's all during COVID. They were very careful to make sure that they were being careful the entire time. And now they meet once a month on Zoom. And when COVID is over, they're all going to get together. It was a total feel-good story. This woman is blown away that people went through this effort to get this chair to her. And it's just a really nice little story.
That is a nice story. That's a great story.
Yeah.
I love how people come together when there's really no vested interest for them other than just trying to make somebody else happy.
I'm going to actually post the story on our Facebook page.
Cool. Okay. Well, listen, if you have a good news story to share, or you would like to cheer someone you know who did something that made you or others happy, just like that group of people did with that chair for that woman, we would love to hear it. You can send it via our website, momssipping.sangria.com.
Let's spill the sangria. Any juicy or funny stories you want to share with us today, Sheila?
Well, yes. In fact, what I'm doing right this second is I'm going to call my sister Ann Walsh because she will tell this story better than me. So let's bring her into the conversation.
Hello.
Hello, Annie Banani. It's Sheila and Anita from Mom Sipping Sangria. You may also know me as your sister.
Hi, Ann.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So, Anne, we are actually recording right now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, because...
So I can't say anything bad about you.
You can, but I will edit it out.
Please do.
Where do I start?
So, Anne, what I was going to tell Anita, so this is the part of the show where we talk about things like confessions, revelations, whatever. And
right.
So this is a confession because, as you will tell the world, I terrorized you when we were growing up. You're much, much, much older than me.
But you look older,
Nice.
so I think that's even.
All right.
I think that works out.
I do want to make amends, but I can't tell this story well because I honestly don't remember it. So either I was possessed at the time or you are lying and somebody else did it. We interviewed Barbara Smith earlier on in the episode, and Barbara was talking about ghost stories and hauntings, and I figured let's stay on theme and talk about evil little Sheila and what what she used to do to you and your dolls when we were kids. Go ahead, Anne.
Well, where do I begin, Sheila? Where do I begin? Because I recall at least two incidents, which I will share with Anita and you.
Okay.
The first one, I came home from school. I don't think you were in school. And I went to play with my Barbies. And I just want to point out they were already hand-me-down Barbies.
Wait, I got to put context because Anne and I are child number 5 and child number 6. So you've already, the Barbies had already been through with the other three sisters.
They were already looking old and haggard, just to be honest. But I go still because some cousin or some aunt, I don't remember, had made beautiful ball gowns for them. So they were still worth playing with. And I open it up and the head is missing off one of them.
Oh, no.
And I searched through our little, because we only have one, remember we only had one drawer each.
We were only allowed one drawer of toys in the entire house.
So I'm searching through my drawer, daughter number 4, 5 of 6 kids, and I find the head, but there was 2 halves to it. 2 halves,
What?
Sheila.
What do you mean? I took the head off and then I cut it in half?
Yes, you did, you psycho. Yes, you did.
I clearly was
So-
possessed because I swear I do not remember that at all.
Yes, and then can I just tell quickly the other one?
Oh,
Because
please
this
do.
was
Why not? We're on a roll.
This was more traumatizing to me. So you might recall that when Santa visited us, because there were so many, we only got one gift.
I got an orange in my sock.
Which, when we got the Sears wish book, we used to go through and pick out, and I picked out Miss Maud or Miss Maud, her feature was she had eyelashes that went up and down, beautiful long eyelashes. And so shortly after Christmas, if you recall this, I went to get my Miss Maud. She had fashion clothes and the whole bit, and she was batting her eyelashes, but one was missing. You had cut her eyelash off, Sheila. And and I went into hysterics, and not laughing, crying. And I'll tell you, as much as I love our mother, she was not very sympathetic. But
oh, Annie, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I traumatized you so much.
Well, you know what, Sheila, you did, for one, for sure. But the good thing is we are very good friends now. And so it made me tough. What didn't kill me made me tough. And the good thing is you never tried to cut my head in half, my eyelashes.
Not yet. Annie, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule.
No problem. As I'm up at the cottage enjoying life.
I know.
And by the way, I just listened to one of your podcasts. It was awesome. The one on hormones. Really enjoyed it.
Yes, Jen Pike. She's amazing. So thank you for joining us. We'll let you go back to your cottage and your family, and yes, stay safe, Anne, and hide those dolls.
Oh, I do, Sheila. Every time you come over. Take
Love
care.
you.
Bye, Anita.
Bye.
Bye, Sheila. Love you. Bye.
Bye. Oh my gosh, I love my sister. I still love to torment her. And Anita, you must have stories like this because you and your two sisters were growing up and did all sorts of stuff, I'm sure, to each other.
Well, that story actually I just had this aha moment. I am the oldest of three, and I think I may have had that doll or one very similar with those long eyelashes on it. And I remember coming home from school and the eyelashes had been cut off, but I did not realize that was one of my sisters. My mom said, "Oh, there must be something wrong with the doll."
Well, no, hang on. Maybe
I totally fell for that. Instead of getting mad at my sisters, now I have something I'm going to have to get back to them about.
Okay, wait a minute though. Maybe we have just come to the conclusion that the doll did have a problem, and that because I already mutilated Anne's dolls, she just automatically assumed I took off the eyelashes too.
No. I'm not. I'm going to negate that one because the lashes were cut straight across. So some were long and some were it was definitely cut. And that's why I went to my mom about it. But she tried to divert it by just saying, "Oh, no, there's something wrong with the doll."
Oh, my. Well,
you're not going to get out of that one, Sheila.
Okay, well, I try. But the good news is, even if you have young kids still at home or, your kids are a little bit older and they're showing signs of doing really awful things and you think, where is this going to lead? Look how normal I am, Anita. Come on now.
Oh, yeah, totally. I'm sure Greg would attest to that one.
Okay, well, thank you for letting us hang out with you, and we hope you're staying well and healthy. We want to thank Barbara Smith for joining us today and Sister Ann Walsh. And remember, past episodes, fave finds, sangria recipes, and other great stuff can be found on our website, momssippingsangria.com. So before we sign off, we will leave you to sip on this question. So, Anita, I'm going to ask you this question, and I'm going to ask you, the listener, this question. Ready? When was the last time you sang out loud?
Oh, the last time I sang, actually, I was just thinking I don't really sing much these days. I'm not in the car. I'm not driving to work and back, that kind of thing. But with the recent passing of Eddie Van Halen, we have had a lot of Van Halen in our home, as you can well imagine. Ian is a huge fan, maybe the number one fan. And so he's been playing a lot of songs that you actually don't hear on the radio that much anymore, or you just, they're not the hits. He wasn't playing the hits. And that's what I love. I love hearing songs from albums that are not necessarily hits.
The deep cuts.
Yeah. So a couple of days ago, we sang like crazy, sang our hearts out. and cheers to Eddie Van Halen. So that was the last time.
Yeah, rest in peace. Oh my gosh, I loved him. And they put out some great music. And yeah, it's funny, you and I were talking about how everybody, once the news hit that Eddie Van Halen died, everybody was offering condolences to Ian because he literally is their number one fan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's even got his license plate. The rim of the license plate is, it is that. And actually, his license plate itself is Panama, which is one of their songs.
That's right. So that's something you at home or in your car or in your kitchen or wherever you're listening to us can also reflect on. When was the last time you sang out loud? And that's all the time we have for now. Till next time, have yourself a great one.
Have a good one. And don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
We are Moms Sipping Sangria. Hello.
Hello.
It's a great
Fruity.
white. What?
Fruity.
Mom Sipping Sangria is produced by Elm Podcasting.